Good evening, Thomas. How are you today?
Good evening, Dharam. I'm fine, except that it's the end of a day which was again very hot in Germany. For German circumstances, I know it's much hotter in India or even where you are in Texas,
Dallas.
Dallas. But we have a kind of continental climate, so it's not only hot, it's also humid. And then I'm hoping for some thunderstorms so that the air clears and we will have some wind.
Yeah.
But fine, so let's keep on discussion, and maybe it's a good topic today regarding this global warming which we all see, and all the dangers we enter as humanity and everywhere.
Yeah.
It's what is the strategy for that, and how do we deliver?
As a human civilization, we're seeing the impact of the global warming and few other things happening.
Yeah,
What is the strategy we have collectively to,
exactly.
you
And
know,
maybe we have none, the research literature has labeled this kind of developments as the big challenges, and there are some ideas that the big challenges can be tackled by project management. But is that true? Is that really happening? Big challenges like, as I said, global warming or sea level rise, or even new pandemics coming up. Now we had a warning from the WHO that there's a new pandemic coming up,
oh,
and yeah, in Africa, some monkey pox or whatever. Um, so we have challenges as humanity, and the first thing is, who owns these challenges? We all do, but is there some government, some body, somebody we can look as a leader, a leader that is helping us with that? No, there's not. So we have to find ways how to tackle it. And
yeah.
I personally don't believe that project management is the way to go. But okay, let's not conclude
Yeah.
before we started discussing.
Let me introduce the topic. Today's topic is very interesting, and we already start kind of having some discussion around that. Bridging the gap between strategy and delivery. I think it's a pain point for many executives and even the portfolio program and project managers if they are working on a strategic project. How to actually get the work done. And you did mention that the Bright Light, the PMI initiative, also
Red line,
focusing
yeah.
on this topic very keenly.
Mhm. I think if you want to look at PMI's perspective to it, you have to look at the brightline.org.
Yeah,
And it was an initiative by PMI, I think in 2018. And this initiative was led by Ricardo Vargas, who once was the chair of the PMI board in 2009, I think. And then he was asked to leave his job and to take over this initiative. And he did that with a small team of 5 or 6 people. And they were quite successful in creating something new. And the new was that PMI traditionally looks for practitioners, people who want to have a certification, and maybe they are looking for the employers of practitioners, but that's about it.
yeah,
So if you look at the gap between strategy and delivery, you have to talk to these people who are concerned about strategy, and these are not normally stakeholders of PMI. So the task of the Brightline initiative was to open up the communication path to these stakeholder group, which are dealing with strategy, because many organizations and many countries, nations, societies, if there's a leader, if somebody is concerned about, how do we bring this forward, then they develop a strategy, and they have maybe a vision, a target, and they want to go there. And then they say, okay, now let's implement it, and then they tend to throw it over the fence to somebody who is called a program manager, transformation manager, or whoever, and who then has the task to implement it. And this is the wrong approach at all,
Yep.
because,
Yeah.
because if you look at strategy as it developed over the thousands of years in human uh, uh, development, evolution, so some of the first writings we have about strategy are from the Chinese, Sun Tzu and The Art of War. And actually, the contents of that is read in military schools today, all over the world, because it's still valid,
Yeah.
And the interesting thing about these strategy papers from military is that they always come out of experience from conflicts, violent wars, conflicts, battles, whatever. They don't come out as a brain work. But if you look at organizations, most strategies come out as a brain work, even
Mm.
supported by consultancies, and so and then there's a piece of paper and it's called strategic plan or whatever, and then it's put somewhere and just execute. And this is not how wars work. This is
Yeah.
not how battles are successful. And there's an even a saying we know very, very well. Um, uh, a a plan fails always because when it hits reality, it is obsolete. But nevertheless, the process of planning is a good thing because
Yep. Yeah.
it it drives your thinking and it gives you options. But the plan doesn't happen as it is written in a strategic plan. And and with that, having that, it's very important to understand that the people who think about doing something, they have to be involved in the execution.
Mm.
And that's a big gap because
Yeah.
in our economy, in our corporations, in the Western world, this is not the case, which is different to the Eastern world. In the Chinese world, and even in some Western organizations like Tesla, Elon Musk, he is involved in implementation, but he's also the thinker behind it. But Steve Jobs was like that. So the really big successful
Yeah.
are involved, which is, by the way, not the case in, let's say, in U.S. military. There are distinct groups. The one make a strategy, maybe, and the others then try to implement it, and mostly fail, as we have seen.
Yeah.
But yeah, so that's the gap which we have, and I'm sure that the people want
Yeah.
to know to close this gap.
And,
And
and, and I think that you're right by saying that many times organizations have thinkers, the executives or directors, they do the thinking, they come up with the vision, mission, strategy, and then pass it to the portfolio management team, and the portfolio is passing to the project and program managers. And of course, the strategic alignment and all these things, we have to be careful, we look into that. But you rightly mentioned some of the names you put, Elon Musk and Steve Jobs and few others, they not only creating the strategy, but they get involved into this. And that's where the success is, the difference is, because
exactly.
you own that delivery as well.
Yes, yes.
Yeah.
And you start doing something and you have to adapt to the context, to the circumstances, the situation that changes. We talk about a VUCA world,
Yeah.
and exactly that is happening out there. And if you come out with a plan and the situation is different as you assumed, you have to react and change
Yeah.
and adapt.
So let me ask the question, what are the most common challenges in aligning strategy with execution, and how can organizations overcome them?
Well, I would say number one is a lack of accountability
Hmm.
because,
Yeah.
people who really develop a plan and a strategy and then they say, "If just do it, implement it." They are accountable for execution too, and they have to make their hands dirty and do that. And they don't do that. And what is happening then, there is a failure of adaptation to the circumstances because the people who are executing a plan,
Yep.
then think about, am I allowed to deviate from that? Or if I deviate from that, maybe I'm to blame later on if it all fails. But it's not their failure, because they are not empowered and they are not even maybe knowledgeable about the full strategy. They have a strategic plan. What are the next steps to do? And so they fail to adapt. And that's also, if you look at the program management standard, and we have this strategy alignment area, um, it doesn't mean that our plan in the program adapts to aligns to the strategy, which was there, but aligns to an ever-changing strategy. Because the strategy that I have developed maybe this year for a 3-year program will not be the same strategy in 3 years. So the adaptation is really meaning that I have to observe what's happening with the strategy, and what's happening with the strategy is that it is influenced from the outside, from the market forces, from the environment, from global warming, from COVID-19 or whatever. So this is changing the strategy, and I have adapt my program implementation to that. And even more, as I execute my program, maybe I have some good ideas, some opportunities, I see some things that could be useful to the organization, and this might vice versa influence the strategy of the organization.
Yeah.
So if I have let's say a program to develop a new car, and then I invent something that is providing easy flying cars, maybe I go back to the strategy guy and say, look, maybe that's a better idea, think about it. And so strategy alignment in the program management context means that the program is influenced by a changing strategy, but also influences the strategy to change.
Exactly. Yeah. Okay, great. Yeah, so I mean, the challenge and all the thing we're talking about how some of the big leaders got involved into the delivery as well, and successes were different because you own that. This is somebody's idea. If some like say you're looking after a baby, somebody else's baby, you will not take care of that baby as a father or mother will look after.
Sure.
Somebody who gave the birth.
Especially, if you do what you normally do on the top of the organization, you divide in divisions and responsibilities in silos, and then you delegate, and then you have to blame somebody because it's also the game of cover your ass, and then you put the strategy plan somewhere, and then that just do it, and then the failure is not with you because you provided an excellent strategy, but with them who were not able to read it, implement it, and so on. And the other thing is, looking at a strategy, some wise guy said the difference between tactics and strategy is that tactics are what you see, the action on the field, in the war, or in the economic environment. But strategy is always hidden from the enemy, from the competition. So maybe you put out a strategy paper to read for everybody, like PMI is doing, but there probably is a hidden strategy, as you can see right now in the current developments between Ukraine and Russia and all this. There is a hidden strategy, and I've seen that in my projects too. So when I was implementing ERP, so SAP in Europe for a big multinational company, they had a strategy behind it, but they wouldn't tell me, even as a program manager, nor would they tell their people. It somehow evolved over time. It became clear over time, but they wouldn't share it up front, because if we publish it, if we make it known to everybody, we will just create some resistance, or some counter actions, and expose ourselves unnecessarily. So that's also an aspect of strategy that is mostly very, very confidential, maybe only in the heads of these who think to do something. And that's another hindrance to implement a strategy. So if it's not shared fully with a purpose behind it and all these bells and whistles, then it also is doomed to fail.
Yeah, I mean, this goes, you have to think about competitors and other factors as well, environment factors. If you openly tell everybody what's your strategy going to be, they are following you, and then they copy you and do better than you, and then your whatever strategy you are thinking for your company is now in the hands of somebody else. So you be
Really?
very careful about who to share, what to share. But at the same time, if you don't share with your project manager, program managers, they may feel that they are just tightening a bolt. But what is the purpose of tightening the bolt if they know, oh, I'm building this big structure which is
Yeah.
going to change the perspective of humanity? It's opera house something. Their motivation level can be hugely different.
Yeah.
Wow, I'm part of this big initiative. Something people are going to remember this forever.
But that presumes that this initiative has a positive outcome for everybody,
Hmm.
which is never the case. In our competitive Western world, in our national geopolitical things, there are so many hidden ideas and hidden programs going on and clandestine work, and we have so much money in CIA or KGB or whatever, that you cannot assume that in all these big programs, strategy is exposed and open, transparent.
Yeah. Yeah. Let's talk about another important point. Let's talk about the importance of visionary leadership in strategy execution and how leaders can effectively communicate and unite their teams around strategic goals.
Yeah, well, providing a vision is very important because a vision is a kind of storytelling,
Yeah.
saying, okay, in 2 or 5 years, we all will be there, and we will have no immigrants anymore. That's what the politicians in the UK tell their people. A vision is something to instill a dream into the heads of employees, of citizens, of voters, or whatever.
Mm.
And it's necessary. It's working. So Martin Luther King instilled a vision, and Gandhi did that, and Kennedy did that, and even Putin is doing it now, and that's this visionary thinking helps you to become a leader, to get followers in the end, and to go on, and I
I
I
think, yeah, we can also think about Chinese leadership as well as Saudi Arabia leadership, how they are taking the whole country towards one direction.
Yes, 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 exactly. So this is a typical, let's say, a tool for politicians to instill, to talk about visions. But if these visions are the real targets of their strategy,
Mm.
it's questionable, So, Trump is now showing up a vision, but what his real thing, his real targets are, is maybe not so visible, and uh, so there's a lot of things to employ critical thinking. What do I hear? Can I believe it? But nevertheless, a vision is a powerful tool for humans because, when we were in Stone Age in our tribes, the tribe leader had the vision, let's feed our people by killing this mammoth, yeah, and then everybody came together and yeah, we want to kill this mammoth, and that's it. And so that vision is so powerful because it adapts to our human nature and how we are motivated and how we are willing even to sacrifice our lives
Yeah,
for
and
the tribe.
exactly. And you probably seen that somebody is acquired as CEO of other company and given $85 million as a cash reward. Probably you heard about the Starbucks. Starbucks had acquired this Chipchole, this company's CEO, and paid him $85 million cash bonus or to start. And why? Because they see, they are the visionaries. They have a transformed the other company. They will do the same thing for this company.
Yeah. Well, look at Elon Musk again. He wants to go to the Mars.
Yeah, yeah.
Point, and he has proven other things, that he can establish electric vehicles and so on. Many setbacks, but that's not important. If you have a failure, a setback, if you evolve in tiny steps, as long as you have some call it the North Star. When you have this direction we are going, like Christopher Columbus had this vision to get the spices from India, but unluckily there was a big landmass between him and India. So yeah, nevertheless, was he successful? Yes, even he didn't reach his strategic goals in the end, and especially from now, decessors from Columbus say that he was successful. He discovered something we didn't know before.
Yeah, yeah. Look, sometimes we go one direction and we have vision, but as per the condition change, we need to, we talk agile leadership.
Yeah,
We have a focus, we're going there, but if this seems a little bit impossible or difficult, you change your strategy, do something else.
Yeah. Well, we have to change the vision, and then for sure we have to change the strategy how to get to that vision. Because a vision and a strategy are not the same. The vision is somewhere a cloudy way direction where we want to go, and the strategy is how we prepare ourselves to get step by step closer to this vision now. And as you know, sometimes when we get to the cloud, it's gone. So we are still okay, having had a path which was nice, and we achieved something, but we didn't achieve the vision. So that's not necessary. Which vision ever was fulfilled? It was none of them. And coming back to our beginning, when we said we have these big challenges in the world, global warming and pandemics and everything, the vision is to make it go away, or to somehow develop ways to survive with that. And then we enter into the path to transformation, something, and but nobody really knows how to get to that vision. So, but we develop ways in different geographies under different leaderships, and maybe these kind of challenges have the potential to bring humanity closer together.
Yeah. So it's important as a leadership that one is to have vision. We're like we're going to be the number one. We're going to change the world, and all this, and also believing in that. That can be a wild vision. Thomas Walenta want to be the president of Germany.
No.
Really? No, I don't want to be. But if you really believe in that, and you'll able to communicate to your team, hey, this is I've seen the vision, and we're going to change the world, Germany, and all whatever. This is you can communicate with your team very powerfully, because you have a purpose in your mind. You can align your team together, and you can convince them this is where we're heading to, and this is the direction we are following. Because the people doing the work may not see what you see, but you need to convince them what you see is their vision.
Yes. And like the famous janitor in NASA, who was then, when they had the Apollo missions, who was asked what he is doing, cleaning toilets. No, I'm helping to get to the moon.
Exactly.
And that's a good expression of the belief that vision can instill.
Exactly, and that's very important, that every person in the team believes in that vision. They align to the vision.
Yeah.
Good. How will emerging technology, now we're talking about AI, artificial intelligence, blockchain, impact the strategy execution in the next 5 years? We know the change is happening very fast. Can you
Yeah.
give some examples about these technologies in action?
Yeah, so we have the examples I can give from the past, not for the next 5 years, maybe, or from the past.
Okay, talking
But
about your future vision. What can you see is the visionary
yeah,
speaker?
things will uh, as examples, we have
Yeah.
the internet bubble, we have Amazon, we have Facebook, we have Uber. All these have in common that they are digital transformations. So they include some digital whatever, into their business model. And this will continue, competitors, as maybe startups, will rise. Customer will move from the old traditional value to the new value that is provided by these competitors who use digital abilities like AI or blockchain, the best, and who that is. No, I'm not speculating about that, but and I'm not even sure if blockchain is really the big thing. The AI certainly is. But maybe there comes up something new. Who thought about e-commerce,
Yep.
And Amazon is so big, and Temu and all these Chinese are so big now because they really exploit this kind of technologies and change the way how people perceive value out of these business, and then product value changes. By the way, an interesting thing is which old companies survive, and these are companies who provide a value that is not related to the utility of the product, but is related to the perception of reputation. So if you buy a Rolls Royce, you will still pay a lot of money just for the name. And if it's the newest technology or not, you don't care so much. You would expect that they also implement good and a new technology, but it's not a deciding factor for a buy. It's a deciding factor is really that you have a reputation. All these luxury goods, like the watches, Rolex and Dior and Chanel and what you mean, all are in this area of reputation-based business, and they don't care much about digital transformation or changing the business model to something else. As long as people are trying to show off with what they have, and are proud of their possessions, then there's a human bias that can create some profits for companies.
Yeah, but these technologies, what we are talking about, artificial intelligence, ChatGPT, and many other things coming around, they can definitely add value to the strategy execution. What
But
I
then,
want to,
yeah,
let's say if I want to build a, let's say, app, some PMI or the PgMP app, which I'm doing at the moment, I can think I want to do it, but if I don't have any execution or utilizing the chat GPT, hey, something can be done very much faster than you're thinking, and things can be ready and available.
yeah. Then let me ask the question, to you. You have a business, and now what is your strategy to utilize these new technologies in your business to create more value for your customers?
See, I mean, I don't want to reveal everything, as you know, but at the same time, the focus is, of course, value, and by technology, I'm coming up with a new app. Very soon, you will see that in the market, with the exam simulator in that, with the videos and the glossaries and everything else, and everything in one place. So I'm trying to bring as much information as I can in the simple app, which can be accessible to you or anybody while traveling in the airport or even sitting in the flight and all kind of things. So the learning can happen anytime. So my
Yeah.
my idea is to keep giving the value. So customer automatically find, okay, Dharam is giving value. Let me find out more from Dharam. So hopefully that can generate some revenue, and
Yeah.
I can also talk about Rolls Royce or some.
I I didn't want to expose you or push you or put you on the wrong foot here, but that's exactly the question. Everybody who has a business, he needs to change, and you understand this. He needs to have a hidden strategy how to achieve that,
Yeah.
because he doesn't want to tell his competition what to do. But you have to do something, and AI is certainly. Uh, you are not doing something with blockchain, I assume, but you are doing something with AI, and AI is such a wide
Yeah.
field and provides so
AI
many.
is enabler, what you're
Yeah,
doing. I mean, look, all these tools we're talking here, they are enablers. And what you can think, I mean, you can think yourself, okay, you want to do something big. Only you can think. But how that will be done by using manual labor or by having some machine, by having artificial based AI based tools, these are enablers. If you can find the tools and use them effectively, then you can have execution of your strategy much faster than you're thinking.
yeah, yeah.
That's where I think the technology which is emerging now or happening for some time is going to add more and more value. And whether you're talking about not only AI, some AI based photo, videos and many things are also happening, will change the way the execution happening.
Yeah, yeah.
And I think we are fortunate to see this transition in our lifetime. Let's see how long we are living, another whatever time. But we are seeing this happening, and I think we will able to use some of the technology to transform the
I
way
think so,
we are doing the work.
certainly.
So, how important is organizational culture in determining the success of strategy execution, and what steps can leaders take to foster a culture that supports strategy goals?
Well, culture is a huge factor in being successful with this kind of strategy execution. So, I'll give you an example. IBM. I worked for IBM, as you know, for 31 years. And we had a CEO for 15 years. First woman CEO, Ginny Rometty, and her mantra was, growth is not compatible with comfort. So
Mm,
get out of your comfort zone, she said. And I don't agree to that fully. Um, but with that, she also instilled, and IBM instilled, and not only she but also her predecessors, uh, to have a permanent change within IBM. So I experience every year a new organizational change and structure and targets, and these were set as values. And so every IBMer, somehow was touched by this permanent revolving culture change, and even Ginny Rometty, uh, before she became CEO, she was the transformation leader for embedding Price Waterhouse not skills, but culture into IBM. So
mm,
Price Waterhouse had a partnership system, where partners owned the full relationship. Basically, they were program managers, because they had some consulting projects and then they had some implementation projects out of the consulting proposal. So, they said above that and made sure that it fits together and that the full thing is delivering. So, and this kind of mindset, this kind of behavior, this is the whole thing around it. The incentives and the roles and the reputation these partners had, and how they could become a partner was a process. IBM just took it, and developed this what they then called business consulting services. It was driven by Price Waterhouse people, and much of the culture change came from Price Waterhouse. So that's is the success of IBM until today, that there is a permanent change, and
mm,
people are not afraid of changing because they know, okay, it happens every year. Um, Other example is PMI itself. The new CEO came in and he uh, did some things here. There's a new strategic plan, whatever, some principles, but there is also a new company culture. And it was written or expressed in a way that's quite simple, and they have 5 culture values established, and they were dispersed across the organization, not only across staff, but also volunteers and members, and everybody can read about it and adhere to that. And I'm now in a PMI committee which is selecting and judging about chapter of the year applications. And one question, one criteria is how well do these chapters implement the cultural values? That's quite new and new criteria because values are new. So that's another example. You have to set the culture, you have to establish new cultural values, and you still have to understand then, to be aware as a company leader, CEO, what has not changed, what is at the core of what you're doing. So IBM is a B2B organization selling IT, whatever, services, equipment to business. PMI, on the other hand, is a B2C organization, selling certifications to individuals, to end consumers, if you want, And so these are some core things that are also part of the culture and which are much harder to change because they are there for decades sometimes, As companies have been set up, they choose the way whom are we going to serve, individual customers or business? So this is how important organizational culture is. And I think it's not very successful in many cases that the culture is being formed or developed or adapted to the needs of the environment.
Yeah, and that's where the leadership, when we talk about change of leadership or bringing new CEO or something, it's not just bringing a person, bringing the idea behind that. The person, as your assumption is, they change the culture in other organizations, they will do the same. And that's where the growth culture and everybody is changing or doing something that way it should be. So, the leadership, of course, that coming from the top down, they have to encourage a culture where people are ready to do bigger and better thing, innovative thinking, or building something outside the box. So, and how to look after the customers, because the customer at the end of the day is the primary. They are happy, they will come more, they come back and they can talk more about you. So how can you look after a customer? Maybe you have to do outside the box thinking. Do something outside what you normally don't do that, so that the customer are ready to come back.
Well, yeah, it's if leadership changes, there is a breaking point, and people are looking, what is he changing? What is he doing? But it's important to understand that the leader himself or herself cannot implement or define the change. Still there has to be a team thinking about what to change, in which direction. So I think I was not there when they did it, but I think the new cultural values were developed over maybe a project, involving the board and employees and volunteers and whatever. So I think it was a big initiative then to develop the new cultural system, and then deciding, yes, that's it, and then rolling it out and dispersing it, communicating it, and measuring it. Is it working? There's also, and that's what they do with the chapter of the year award, for instance. They look, okay, chapter should follow that, and they're looking into ways how the chapters are adapting to it.
Right. Let me take the next question. Ask the next question. Share a strategic initiative from your past that did not go as planned, and let's learn from that experience.
Many did not go as planned, and especially the bigger ones. And it refers to that how we started. If there's a strategy and a plan and you do something, and then you hit reality and you have to adapt, and something changes. Even as example, Columbus, he didn't discover the spicy world of India, but something else. There was gold, and then was also a value, but a different value and different things. So my examples, and even my first big project, for a insurance company in Frankfurt, we had a target to achieve a new data center with a new application software adapted to that new operation system. And, the data center was perfectly built and everything in cost and time. But, the provider of the application software was not coming up in time.
Yeah.
So the project overall failed. But, I was commended of running such a good project and making it transparent. And so the value was there, uh, quite differently to the value that was expected in the beginning, and so it was a successful project. If you would still compare it to the baseline, to the initial plan, it would be a failure. But that's not what we agreed to, neither the customer, nor IBM, nor myself, or anybody else. Other example, when I had a tough time being in charge of a transformation and transition from a customer environment to the IBM environment in the context of outsourcing, and there was a transformation plan made by somebody, was part of a contract, and then let's just say just execute, and then well, it was clear from the beginning that this was not a good plan. So nevertheless, I was in charge to implement it, and I failed. And actually, I was fired from that project. And a month later, the whole contract broke down. Not because of me, but because the basic assumptions were dead wrong. And actually, what they found out is that the customer was more clever than IBM, the contractual provisions, and it cost IBM a fortune. But the root cause was not that I couldn't implement an impossible plan. The root cause was that this plan was impossible, and from the beginning it was impossible on purpose. So the guys who developed this plan and signed the contract, they had lots of bony, and I had to look for another job, luckily with an IBM. So this was the second example, and yeah, I could continue. All the big things were successful, I would say, in the end. But they were successful in a way that was determined at the end of the initiative, after 3 years, after whatever, and the perception of the stakeholders about what is value, what is success, is different after 3 years than it was at the beginning.
Yeah. And many times you may feel that this is a failure at that point of time. But when you look back, wow, that was the biggest thing happened.
Yeah. Sydney Opera House,
Yeah.
Hamburg Harmony, all these big things, or Suez Canal,
Yeah.
whatever,
Yeah. At that moment, it was looking, what is this and questions asked. But when you look back, yeah. So,
Yeah.
we should be looking these big failures and finding out lesson learned from that.
Yeah.
If you are the project manager, program manager for this kind of work, what you will do to avoid these pitfalls?
Well, let me add one aspect here, which is, I think, important for young project managers to comprehend, is the success of a project is a floating thing, So it is subjective at the point in time when you look at it. So even a stakeholder that was there at the beginning of a project has some vision or whatever, some idea what he wants to name success. after the project, he will have another look at it and might perceive it differently. And as you say, and even after 1 or 3 years after the end of the project, there will be another perception by the same person. And then, you have a lot of persons around a big project, a lot of stakeholders, and everybody of them has a different view. Though there is a plethora of ideas of what success is, a plethora in terms of different stakeholders, but also different time frames. So it's totally subjective. That's why I say success is floating. But now the trick comes in for a project manager. In the end, if you as a project manager can influence the key stakeholders to understand what success should be,
Yeah.
then you do a great job. Then you're always successful. Because you would define the success and influence the stakeholders to adapt to your view.
Yep, why not? Okay, what are the key skills and competencies must tomorrow's leaders, the project manager, program manager, develop to excel in strategy execution, considering the fast-paced changes in global market and technologies?
Yeah, my view on that, and I know I'm not following a lot of
Global
these
trends and market.
gurus and project managers. I think that the skills and the mindset of a project manager are fundamentally different from a organizational leader, from a CEO or political leader. And even the targets are different, because the project manager is a temporary position, and then when you go away, you are away. You have no influence, no nothing. So project managers are not educated and trained, and their mindset is not that they can deal with strategy. Sometimes they don't know about strategy. As you say, your strategy is hidden. If you have somebody to develop this app, maybe you won't tell them what you really want to do, but you tell them what kind of product they should develop and which kind of features you have. But what do you want to do with that? It's none of their business. And that's what I experienced as a project manager at IBM very often, because I always had to deal with clients of IBM. And it was a very rare case that they shared what they want to achieve with this project. They looked at IBM, they just make it happen, throw over the plan and do it. And then they didn't share, what their real intentions are. And there is also another negative image about organizations, and I just want to share it. I shared it before in one of the calls, So somebody said, their organizations are made up about 3 layers of people, the executives, and then the middle management, and then the employees who do the work, and so and he said the executives, these are the psychopaths, and they decide things that the middle managers desperately try to understand, but they don't get it. And the employees do what has to be done, and they get the input from the middle management. And the other statement around that is, the purpose of organizations, of companies, is not to satisfy shareholders or stakeholders or environment or whatever. The purpose of organization, as we see it in our Western world, is to enrich management. That's the one thing.
Exactly. So from my point of view, as a project managers, program managers, they should have capabilities or understanding of organization strategy. They are not involved in the development of these strategies, like even portfolio manager not getting involved, but you need to understand what organization looking to achieve in next few months, few years, few decades, and how you want to contribute as part of the portfolio program and project manager in delivering those or executing those strategies, and make the organization more ready for the new change. the new
Yeah.
leaders?
Well, sure, you should be curious. You should be exploring what's going on there. But I think especially project managers and program managers are different. Program managers are dealing with strategy alignment, and they are dealing with benefits that are expected from them.
Yep.
So this is a business language, but project managers still, no project manager is trained in benefits management. They don't understand how to do that, and mostly they are not able to do that because they are not involved in the pre-project phase. When all the things are developed. So now some people say, okay, we have to include that front end loading, and do much more planning, and then also the after the project we have to be included in change management, implementation, rollout of the stuff, and then we have at sudden we have three projects. The front end loading, which is including the business analysts, but that doesn't need a project manager actually. The project manager executing what has been defined there, and the change manager trying to convince people to use the product that has been developed. The marketing guys, if you want, in
Yeah.
a product development environment. So yeah, I think the strategy is across this all, but in our system, Taylorism, we
Mhm.
have divided the tasks, and there are maybe good interfaces and good overlaps, and
Yeah.
or probably in most cases not.
Yeah. All right. Okay. Yeah. So my next question to you is how can organizations use advanced analytics and data insights to improve their strategic execution? Are there any specific sectors or projects where this is particularly critical?
Well, yes, I think, if you look at data and getting all this data in, it's a matter of understanding how you deal with data and how you use data to make decisions. And for this, companies since maybe 10 years or so correctly employ data analysts, and now with AI, they employ AI analysts, and then it will develop. And if these analysts are good, they will produce some insights that have not been there before. But what I've seen in practice with these data analysts, that they provide a lot of insights, which also were known through other means before, because
Yeah.
your business, your clients, and then you put a mass data somewhere, you put some statistics over it, and then you say, oh, but it was basically this OHA was somehow perceived before. So I think successful organizations will rely on the gut feelings of their management, and the decision makers. So data can support this. And maybe in some cases, data will contradict the gut feelings. But if it does this, then these are not successful anyway. So there are people who can read the context, without going into detail, without employing statistics and AI, and just decide something. And on the other hand, the I don't know who said this, but it's also, there are no wrong decisions. It's just there are decisions that have consequences you have to live with. And the and to the point of Ginny Rometty, permanent change is helping to get you out of the comfort zone, to innovate, and to stay alive. And that is, I think, more important. That if we are a human society, if our companies are still human, um, data is a valuable add-on, but it's not the core of business and of decision making.
Yeah, but some organizations are very much dependent on the data. They have lots of data, trillion terabytes or whatever
Yeah.
huge data. and utilizing some tools, techniques, and getting the knowledge of the looking the trend can help them to focus on particular product or particular direction. Yeah, gut feeling is always, you can rely on that, but at the end of the day, gut feeling supported by right data, right intelligence will
Yeah.
definitely help, leadership to make better decisions.
Well, if you look at Facebook or
Mm.
Amazon or the Chinese companies, they utilize the data they get from their clients, or from the web or
Yeah,
somewhere. And Google, they have it, but this is not, let's say, input to business decisions. It's part of the business model,
exactly.
So you are presented with the things you will probably buy in the next half year, and maybe it's wrong in it, but it's not a business decision. It's an operational decision, which is supported by data.
Yeah.
And and there's already some counter movement, with all these data privacy laws, and now I think the European Commission has threatened X, Elon Musk to get out. But is that because of the data? I think it's more because of the power that has been amassed by Musk in on all this stuff.
Yeah.
And nobody knows really what the Chinese are doing with all the data, if they're even interested, in looking in the behavior of some Europeans. What are do they, or if they just utilize the algorithms to provide some additional services to the clients.
Exactly.
Yes, there is data and people are doing with that, but the real decision making is still biased and done by people.
Exactly. So, look, there's a lot to talk in this topic, but we have covered a lot of things here today, and lots of good question and lots of insightful discussion from you, Thomas. And thank you again for coming again, having spending time with me, discussing all these topics, and your experience working as a PMI leader, as an IBM person, and so much thing, and especially talking about the strategy of big organization, how this successes and failures of these organizations can help, learning lesson learned from some mega projects, the failure or successes of them can definitely help many organizations to gain better, have a better strategy for the next time, and right team to execute the strategy.
Thanks, Dharam, and it's my pleasure to talk with you, and it's also keeps my brain a little bit boiling, and pulling up all the experiences and the things. And it's not, everything perfect,
Yep.
but it's my life, and at the end, I said it's successful.
Yeah. Anyway, look, thanks, Thomas, and I will see you soon again with a new topic. You take
Yeah.
care.
Bye bye.
Bye now.